Hey guys, welcome to the Words with Woodsman podcast. We're so glad that you're here. We're actually in the bike shop tonight, and it is quite toasty.
It is, with no AC and no fan.
There is a heat advisory.
There's a heat advisory.
The AC went down.
Well, yeah,
Taking this to the extreme of outdoorsmen.
yeah, we're gonna fill up the back of my truck with water and do this podcast
That's a good idea.
hot tub style. No, we're sitting here and we're so if we appear sweaty on camera,
Or just collapse.
just
Keep going.
just collapse it and listen to us, and yeah, we'll go from there. But we haven't been able to record in the last couple of weeks. In fact, we took a break last week. I was sick, and we'd also all kind of traveled and kind of went our separate ways for a bit. So let's catch up on some of that.
I didn't do anything. I got to stay in a nice cabin. I got an Airbnb for work.
Did you go to Kentucky?
Yeah,
You were in Kentucky.
in Kentucky.
Oh.
The place was nice. I mean, it's a cabin, exactly as it says and does and looks, and bean fields and cows and pigs and dogs and the mountain you could see off into the distance. It's very, very peaceful.
Very peaceful. Was work peaceful? Was work as peaceful as the cabin?
But the
Okay.
cabin helped come back to don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Because work, it was pretty chaotic, but nothing too crazy.
I did the opposite. I went to Milwaukee. Like that was the opposite of peaceful. But it wasn't bad. It was nice. I had probably, this is not an exaggeration. I had what I think was the best cheeseburger I ever put in my mouth. It was amazing. You're in the land of cheese.
I was gonna say, yeah, you're in the land.
And so, yeah, I went up there for it was our parent company for Woodsman is crew. And so I went to a crew meeting up there and was there for a good solid week. I will say the coolest thing, okay, so you're right next to Lake Michigan, right there in Milwaukee. And so
you didn't fish, by the way.
I didn't fish. I didn't have time to fish. That's a sad reality. But so I was editing our last podcast in the hotel room that I was staying in, and it took me 2 hours longer to edit the podcast because every 5 seconds the Blue Angels were flying over practicing over Milwaukee. And so like every 5 minutes, I'm like, every time I hear the rumble, like I'm looking out the window, watching them like do barrel rolls. It was for a second, I actually Googled what was happening. Like, I'm like, is there some kind of news going on? Because it wasn't, I couldn't tell it was the,
He's getting.
well, I couldn't tell it was the Blue Angels because they were so far away. I could just tell it's fighter jets. And I'm like, why are so many fighter jets flying over Milwaukee? I'm sitting there Googling, like, what's happening in Milwaukee? They're like, the Blue Angels. Like, oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense. But you went on vacation there, Andy.
Yeah, we went into Seattle. We did do some fishing.
Okay.
I don't even think I told you guys about this yet, but
No,
we took a charter out into the Puget Sound and we were targeting salmon. And it had been slow. The captain was a little reluctant. I was like, listen, we're just going to go. And we kind of worked it out. Brady, my 8-year-old, was with us. And I was like, on the back half of the charter, I want to go target flounder. So they get flounder plentiful at the bottom there. So we're like, let's give it a try. Well, we get out there and he was like, hey, it's been a little slow. 2 seconds, we've got a salmon on. The first one we caught was a pink salmon. Then we got a Chinook. Then we got 2 cohos. We lost a couple. So they aren't allowed to use barbs. So they can come off the hooks pretty easily. But I don't know if you've seen how they fish, but they actually drop it down. So we had one on a downrigger at 50 feet, one at 150, and then one at 70, trying different depths to find different fish. But you look at the technology, there was fish everywhere.
Yeah.
They just hadn't been biting. There was boats all around us, and there was a heavy fog. So we're like listening for the other boats because you can't see them. Land is like 20 yards away, but we can't see it. It's kind of crazy. But you're 50 yards from land, and it's 280 feet.
So you can't use a barb on a hook?
Not in Washington.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that like some kind of like animal friendly?
Well, and there's another
kinda
crazy
law, or-
thing that the first salmon we got was pretty big. Oh, filleted. It was gorgeous. I was like, oh, I'm going to take you to a restaurant. You can't do that there either.
Really?
Yeah, it's against, and I guess that makes sense. But in Florida, you can catch those, grouper with
There's
worms in 'em.
restaurants that are built around that
Yeah.
concept in Florida.
Well, and so you think about the Gulf Coast where you're from, and Florida, like that's just part of how it is. But you realize the grouper and stuff that we catch to bring in there aren't like they got worms in them and are gross. And the restaurants bringing those in and cutting them. This salmon was, I mean,
pristine.
yeah, the colors were
Pristine
amazing.
salmon.
And one of their biggest things up there is you bring your fish in, and there's a place where you can get it cut. like they throw it to you.
Yeah. Oh,
You
I
know
went
what
to
I'm talking-
Pike's Market. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can bring your fish in there to get,
Well, they sell
sliced
them
and
to you
diced.
there. They
Yeah.
sell them.
I don't think they receive them unless you're
Yeah,
like,
they sell them to you.
a
That was cool.
licensed
So we
fisherman.
saw that.
Okay.
But then we went flounder fishing, and Brady was all excited because I really didn't let him touch the salmon rods too much. Once I felt one and realized he was like 20 inches, I let him bring it in. But it's hard to tell because you're pulling it up. But anyway, so we go flounder fishing, and the guy puts on like the tiniest piece of bait, and it's it's not even real. It's just artificial. We drop it 100 feet down. In 2 seconds, there's a fish on. So for an hour, the poor mate, 3 rods, nonstop flounder. Well, then Brady started getting some sharks. So
Oh, that's
cutting
fun.
the flounder in half as he's bringing them up, and he's yelling. You know, he's starting to get cocky. I got another one. Got another one. Got another one. So he ended up catching 4 sharks in a row. So he would catch the flounder and then slowly bring it in until the shark.
he's using it as bait.
Slowly bring it in.
Let him eat it. Let him eat. Got him.
And I mean, we got a bucket full like you guys talked about in your trips down south. And he's like, are you going to keep these? I was like, no, let them go. We're staying in a hotel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So he let them all go. But I've got pictures of, Brady with half-eaten ones. It was a lot of fun.
That's
But
awesome.
We went to Mount Rainier in the trip too. So there was ice at the top still. So we hiked it. That was a long, hard trip. So
There you go.
But yeah.
Rainier is absolutely gorgeous. Like
unbelievable.
when we went there when I got married. So we went there for our honeymoon to Seattle, and I remember us flying back, and the pilot goes, "Hey, look out if you're sitting on the right hand side of the plane, look out the right hand side of the plane." And it's like you could touch it. Like it's monstrous.
Well, we went up it, and it was awesome.
We went up it too, but it was cloudy. So it was, I just kind of was just up a hill in the clouds. So it wasn't,
the one by the airport.
it's the biggest mountain there.
It's 14,000 feet.
Because when we went to Alaska,
Yeah. You can't miss it.
They did skirt it. Yep.
yeah.
You can't miss it.
But everyone was like, hey, when you go to Seattle, it's going to be cloudy, pack a rain jacket. Blue skies, there wasn't a cloud in the sky basically any day. We were there 7 days. Every day was perfect. So, and then I forgot about the heat. We flew back into Nashville. I walked out of the airport and it's like, boom.
It's kind of like it feels, kind of like it feels right now. Like
I'm actually starting to overheat a little. But yeah, the weather was great. We did go to Canada one day, also up to Vancouver and did some stuff up on mountains up there.
So if this recording, actually, if you're watching this recording right now, that means we didn't fall out from the heat and we got to actually publish it.
You didn't.
One of us made it out.
Yeah.
One of us kept
You're
talking.
the only one that knows
I tell you what, if this video is posted, it says "in memory of" in the front end of it.
It's probably going to be Brandy that goes down.
Then you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it might be because I am.
But yeah, it was cool. So my week was pretty good. Outside of, I just hate living in a hotel room. That gets old super fast. But I will say the flight was pretty good going up there. I think I was sitting next to a pilot one time. This wasn't on this trip. This was on another one. And he talked about how, you can tell the difference between if your pilot was an Air Force pilot or a Navy pilot. Okay, so think about a Navy pilot landing on the deck of a ship, hard, fast, like going to get you on the ground super quick. So when we were landing, we had to go through Detroit. So we were landing in Detroit, and I've never seen a plane hit the ground that hard. when half of the plane, I'm not going to say it because this is like a family friendly podcast, but when half of the plane cusses out loud, literally
that hard?
he hit it that hard, and it reverberated. I started laughing, like it just reverberated down the plane, because I'm like, dude, you don't have any suspension left on this plane whatsoever. That's how hard he hit the ground.
Used it all.
Maybe he had to use the bathroom and he had to.
I don't know, but I've never seen someone slam a plane that hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool. We got to, then we come back, and we had a couple of great weeks of group. Picked up some new guys to our group. In fact, we added this week. Okay. So this past Sunday, we had, 9 that came to our group on Sunday, and out of the 9, 7 were new.
Wow.
And so,
Did you catch anything?
they caught one. I didn't catch any, but hey, we got to share the gospel. We got to talk about Jesus.
Yeah, it's so hot. I was wondering
It's
what
so
depth
hot.
the fish would be in.
Now I will say this: I took cash out about a week ago, and we caught about a half dozen crappie
Really?
over at Bull Run, and so they're in about 8 foot of water. And let me back that up. I caught about a half dozen crappie. I don't know what Cash was doing. He was watching me catch fish.
He didn't catch a lot of fish?
He had the same jig as me. He has the same setup.
I can't imagine how frustrated he
Yeah,
was.
he's sitting there like, what is happening? Like, I think he caught like one. He did catch one good one. I'll give him the credit where credit's due.
But they were all the way down at 8 feet to get to the cooler water.
Yeah, they're deep. They're deep right now.
But so the treetops typically aren't that deep. So where did you fish from?
Out in the channel they are. So if you get out in the channel,
Okay.
all the treetops, like the ones out there, are in 5 to 8 feet of
And
water.
you just use the technology to see them?
Well, I just used the technology to tell where I was at, how deep I was. But you mean stretch? The problem with jigging at 8 feet, stretch that line out, you get hung up a lot because you obviously got a lot of line out there. But straight up, we drop it down and bam.
Cool.
And so it was some good fishing.
And I can put my trolling rod in the back of my boat and just
If you can keep your rod in the water, out of the water,
It's in the water.
out of the
That's
water.
problem.
Yeah, did you tell Andy about that?
My rod.
I'm just calling him out.
No. Okay.
So-
I'm intrigued.
What? I think before I left, we decided to go fishing. Me, my wife, and my daughter, and Josh and Casey were in his boat. And Haley wanted to switch it up, so she wanted to do a braided line open cast because she was doing a bait caster. So I was putting a leader on it, but then Bobby was doing bait caster, and her rod was all knotted up. So I went to go fling it to get it out to figure out where it's at, and I had my pole sitting vertically up, and I hit the bottom of it. Oh, crap. And it's going down. But I'm like, oh no, I think I got a floater on it. It'll come up. The top will come up. We're in 7'6" water, and it's a 7-foot pole. Nope.
Did you get it?
I had to wait on the other end.
But did you get your rod back? Oh,
He jumped overboard. He went after it.
you still didn't get
He
it?
still didn't get it.
Oh my gosh.
We went back. My wife bought a magnet. We went back and tried to magnetize it to get it. And then
I don't think there's any. I think it's all aluminum. I don't think there's any.
Oh,
I
well,
was hoping something, or if she at least snagged it or got it to where she could hold it there. Could have went down.
Well, the reality is the current keeps moving because the TVA is sucking the water out. So odds are it's probably not in the same spot.
No, we circled a big area in that area. I mean, I was probably making the other fishermen down there mad because her magnet, but
All right, what is this family doing?
yeah,
so I was fishing out of
holes in the water.
Sarasota, Florida. We went out 40 miles. We were in 100 feet of water fishing for red snapper, I don't know, 10 years ago. And I had a really nice rod. Honestly, it was 100 degrees. There was no wind. So it was flat. I'd caught so many fish in a row, like on the technology, they're everywhere, that my hands started to cramp up. Like they were like stuck like this, holding the rod. Well, I'm holding it, bringing in one, and I can barely move. And I know that sounds crazy, but a shark took it and I lost the rod. My fingers just seized up. And I mean, it was a $500 setup.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
This was a $30 rod.
But listen,
Yeah.
we can see where we're at, from our trail. So we circled back and did the same drift. And a guy on the boat caught the line. And then we pulled the line up and got the rod back and the reel.
Yeah, what are the odds?
Okay, then there's one more. I was at the dam just here in Tennessee, and Brady's holding on to the rod, and we're fishing for drums, catfish, striper. We've got a big piece of live bait on. I was like, Brady, hold on. He's turned his head, looked around. Something pulled, and the rod goes flying out of his hand into the water. And we both look at each other, and we're like, oh no. I tied 6 big hooks onto that and drug it across the bottom and got it back.
That's the only thing I didn't do when we.
Yeah.
I should have did it.
Big
but
hooks.
Haley was kind of like, "Oh, Dad."
How deep was it?
7 foot
It was
6.
7 foot.
Oh.
Yeah,
It
it wasn't
wasn't that
deep.
I can't believe you didn't get it back.
Yeah, I tried.
Well, to be fair, we were in a creek bed and it was murky as all get out. So
Yeah.
And I kept going down and grabbing mud and then coming
Well,
back up. And,
at the ramp at that Melton Hill one, I got out of the boat and the keys to my car fell in the water.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I had to call my wife to come get us. Well, the next day, a guy from work brought a magnet, and it it got it. It stayed there despite the dam running.
No
It
way.
was right under the dock. I got it back, and it was sealed so well that no water got into the
No
battery.
way.
It worked immediately.
See,
That was
I've-
on the Explorer.
I remember.
I've
that
never,
story.
I've been blessed. I've never dropped a rod overboard. Never. I think, you know, I don't know. I think if I had, my father probably would have had me go in after it. It's probably what would happen.
I probably could have got mine if I would have dove in right away.
Yeah. You did wait a few minutes.
Yeah, because I thought I had a top water on it, so I'd pull it up. But
Yeah.
I had a sinker because I was Texas rig, and yeah, it just. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, we are coming up on our first break, so we'll take a break, and when we get back, we will pick up with the book of James if we don't sweat to death. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the podcast. We're glad that you're here. We are in the book of James, and last time we were here, we're going to kind of back up a little bit, but last time we were here, we were talking about, you know, verse 7 gets into submit yourself to God, resist the devil, and he'll flee from you. We talked a little bit about how, you know, most people focus on the second half of that verse of just resist the devil, but they don't really focus on the submit yourselves to God part. And I want to kind of back up and take a look at something. I had this interesting thought today. I thought it was interesting. We'll see if
We're just glad you're thinking.
we'll see. We'll see if anyone else finds it interesting. But we kind of moved past these verses, so I wanted to. We read over them, but I want to come back and look at them a little closer. But starting with verse 8, so we're in chapter 4, verse 8. We're almost to chapter 5. Like we should hit chapter 5 by next episode. So that's a big deal. Then we'll be done with James after 5. There is no James 6. Yeah, it stops at 5.
Party?
Huh?
Party.
Party.
Woo!
Like a pizza party?
A podcast.
Oh, I was just
party.
thinking like we celebrate.
Oh, yeah, you can get a
Yeah,
confetti cannon.
that's a great idea.
It'd be awful for the people who are listening. Yeah. Okay, we can describe each piece of. But verse 8, verse 8 says this. It says, "Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Grieve, mourn, and wail. Change your laughter to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will lift you up." So as I was reading that, you know, I couldn't help but think of how in our culture, in our society, like we go way too easy on sin. You know, and I think it's I think it's coming from a good place because, and I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt because like it's coming from the thought process of, you know, we don't want anyone to feel bad. We want, you know, you don't want to put anyone in an uncomfortable position. You don't, but yet James comes in here and he says, grieve, mourn, and wail. He says, change your laughter to mourning and your joy to gloom. And, you know, throughout the Gospels, Jesus took a very serious approach to sin, right? Like he said, if your eye causes you to sin, yeah, cut it out. Yeah, gouge it out.
Yeah.
And James is saying, hey, look, you guys might be joyful, all this kind of stuff, but when it comes to like your sin and your repentance, like you should feel the weight of that. And I don't think we talk about that enough in, you know, Christian circles.
Well, I think we take a look at ourselves and we compare. So I know that that's not how it works. I know that that's not what the Bible says. I know that that's not how God views it, but I still look and go, hey, I'm not as bad as that person.
Yeah.
Or at least I didn't do that.
Right.
Or I could be worse, right? But works is not part of it at all. And we've already covered that in a prior episode. But it's just a society we live in. And so then it's become acceptable. It's like a slope going down pretty fast. Like, hey, they did this, so you know, this isn't that bad, but in God's eyes, sin is sin.
Sin is sin. Well, also, and I heard a pastor say this one time, I thought this was very interesting. He was actually telling, so this was a traditional church and they would do like a whole altar call. And there was this time when God was really moving big time in that church. And every week, and I remember seeing this as a kid, every week there were people down at the altar confessing their sins and repenting and just and going before the Lord, right? Really great thing. Well, what was happening is these other people that were in the crowd would go up behind them and like begin to comfort them, like while they're like weeping at the weeping right there at the edge of the stage, right? And so he actually reached a point in time where he said, hey, don't do that. Like, I understand it's coming from a good place. I understand that you want to comfort other people, but you don't want to distract them from what God's doing in that moment. And if they're genuinely mourning and weeping what the sins that they've committed, the where they've been, right? There's hope in that, and we don't want to remove the hope from it. So I'm not saying that, but you want them. He was saying, hey, you want them to let them sit in that for a minute and let them experience the weight of that, because that's how repentance comes out of that.
Well, and that's how, when that weight comes off,
Right.
so, you know,
Absolutely. That's when you get to the joy. That's when you get to the peace that comes up, because we have a God that loves us. We have a God that forgives us. We have a God, but at the same time, in order to get to that forgiveness, there has to be repentance of
it's
it.
a really good perspective.
Yeah. And, you know, while I was in Milwaukee, one of the speakers, I thought this was really good. He was talking about this issue, and he made the statement, he said, don't forget the pain of sin. You know, so many times we just want to comfort ourselves, or we want to, oh my gosh, there's grace and there's forgiveness. And those things. Yes, those things are there. But he said, so many times we forget the pain that sin causes, not in a way that you should hold that over your head, or, you know, the difference between shame and guilt. Like, it's not to define who you are, but that pain is there. So you remember, hey, I don't need to go down that road again. Right. Like I remember the struggles that caused. I remember the relationships that ruined, or how that made me feel, or, you know, how that it made me feel like I couldn't go before the Lord. You know what I mean? Like the pain that caused, it's beneficial to not forget that.
Well, that reminds me of Adam and Eve in the garden hiding
Yeah.
from God, who's omniscient.
Right. Yeah.
Omnipotent, you know,
Omnipresent.
yeah, omnipresent.
All the omnis.
All the omnis we can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so trying to hide, I don't want to talk to my creator, my Lord, about that. He already knows.
Yes. And he brought up, the pastor brought up the point, the speaker, and I thought this was cool. He used the children of Israel as an example of, like, remembering their pain and their struggles. And he said, Moses goes up on the mountain to get the 10 Commandments, to go in the presence of God, right? And what do the Israelites do while he's there? He's not gone 10 minutes. And they're already building a golden calf. Like,
Right.
And we can look at that and go, look at those idiots. But the reality is we do those same kind of things, right? Like, if you've got a friend, if you've got because this is a men's ministry, we'll talk about it from that perspective. But if you've got a guy over here that is, he's married and he's beginning to, like, flirt with someone at work, right? And you see this, and he's married, and like, as a brother in Jesus, a brother in Christ, like, it's our role to go, hey man, be careful. Like,
Call it out.
Call it out, because what's happening is, and I think as fellow believers in Jesus, like, I think we need to do more of that, right? Of hey man, look, you're in very dangerous territory. Like, you're borderline. You could destroy your whole life. You can turn your whole life, not just your life, but your kid's life and your wife's life. You can turn everything upside down over this. And as believers, like, we're called to do that. We're not called to walk over there and be like, oh, that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, funny you're saying that over men. The workplace, it was just a big time internet thing. Somebody at a concert that was not with his wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about the CEO, that kind of deal.
And and me and my wife talked about it, like, that moment where he complained about that was a moment for them or something like that. Dude, you just destroyed your family's life and your legacy, and you're wanting to try to revert it back to people are being mean to you.
Yeah.
Because you did something wrong. Because like, his wife and his kids. Yeah. And that lady's family too. Like,
well, it made me think about it when Josh was talking earlier. Sometimes the pain that we feel from the sin is different than getting caught. Right.
Yeah.
So, and that's what happened to him. He didn't have a problem with the sin. He had a problem with that he got caught.
Yep.
And that's the thing that we've got to work through.
And
right?
unfortunately, as you know, you look at this from in a state of preventing that, right? The pain it would be of like you walking up to someone at work, because that's going to be painful, right? Like walking up and go, hey man, I see this. I'm just calling this out because I love you, right? Like that there's pain involved. He's probably going to get mad at you, right? He's going to get defensive. And that's usually the way human nature goes, right? The pain of that is much less than him flipping his world upside down because it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and the way it made me think of this, it made me think of, and I think I've used this example before, but it made me think of going to the doctor, right? You go to the doctor and let's say that you've got this illness that's terminal, right? But you've got a doctor that doesn't want to hurt your feelings. And so he doesn't tell you, right? He just goes, hey, you're great, right? We think of that like that's preposterous.
You'll be all right for a couple weeks.
Yeah. Come back for a follow up in a few weeks.
Yeah. Well, do I need to make one for a couple months? No,
Don't worry about that.
Don't worry.
But the reality,
I won't need that one.
well, yeah, and the reality is no one would want to hear that news, right? But that news is necessary, right? Because you may have a chance to fight it, or you may have a chance to take steps, or have a chance to put your affairs in order, right? So you don't want a doctor that's going to look at you and go, no, it's fine. Like you're great.
We'll pencil you in for the next visit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Not in pen.
In the same way, when it comes to spiritual matters, as brothers and sisters in Christ, we've got to look at each other and go, hey, and not in a hateful way, not in a, like there's right and wrong ways of doing that, right? Like I'm not going to call you out on Facebook more than likely, right? Like I'm not going to do it in a public forum. I'm going to pull you aside and I'm going to say, hey man, what about this? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Because I love you and I don't want you to step into that. I thought that was interesting because, you know, so many times in the Christian world, we want to go, oh, peace, love, joy, like all of those great things, right? And we want sunshine all the time, but we got to realize that we live in a broken world and it's our role to, like Proverbs says, as iron sharpens iron, of helping one another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go read a letter from Paul, like what he says to the churches, and when it comes to church discipline and all those different things, right?
Yeah, we just, our group at our house just finished Acts and, yeah, talked about that stuff and, one, helping each other out and being there for one another,
Well,
but also the way we're supposed to act.
it made me think of the greatest example of this, in my opinion, is the story of the woman at the well, right?
Yeah.
Like Jesus meets the woman at the well, and I look at this as like the blueprint to like handle this kind of stuff, because Jesus met her right where she was. He went out of his way, right, to meet her there. He shows her kindness when no one else would, right? But at the same time, not only does he show her kindness, he also calls out the sin for what it is. But then when he sends her off, what does he say? He says, "Go and sin no more."
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're forgiven. Hey, I'm taking care of that. But get out of that lifestyle. Don't stay there. Because the reality is the wages of sin is death. Sin causes death no matter where it goes, right? And if we don't, as brothers and sisters in Jesus, if we don't help one another and walk beside one another, like every Christian guy should have a group of Christian. That's what Woodsman's about, right? Like you should have a group of Christian guys that I like to call it deer hunting license in your life to go deer hunting. You know, where I've got that license to go, hey Andrew. And you've got the same license with me to go, hey, Josh, are you okay here? Like I noticed the way that you answered that question or the way that you said that, or I noticed you out in public doing this. Like we need to have a chat about that. Like you need those people in your life, and every godly woman needs those godly women in their life to do the same thing. And that's how we move forward, but also that's how we keep ourselves, away from destroying ourselves, because what's the saying? You're only like one decision away from wrecking your life, right? Like at any given moment.
Yeah.
And let's call it what it is, but the devil is good at manipulating what you want to make you happy. I mean, he knows God and Jesus, he knows all that, and he knows the Bible just as well as Jesus.
And if he can make it about you and you're like,
and you forget about him,
like back to the scenario of the guy, flirting with the girl at his office, of that whole, I want to be happy. bro, you about to wreck your life.
You can be happy. Maybe you need to do something you're doing wrong at home and make
Like go, go work on your marriage, man. Like don't tear your life apart, because that's going to affect more than just you. So so I wanted to back up and take a look at that, because I love how in verse 9, that whole grieve, mourn, and wail, like James is issuing them a warning. And remember, this is to believers. He's issuing them that warning of, hey, don't forget the pain that sin causes. Not that that should identify you, not that that should, that's not, you don't remember that pain because of, it's not a woe is me kind of approach. It's a, hey, kind of like, when a kid touches a stovetop, like, hey, that hurt. I don't want to do that again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah. Was that what you did? Like, yeah.
It explains a lot.
Explains a lot. Well, guys, we are about out of time. When we come back, we will continue moving forward in James, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Words with Woodsman podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode. We'll see you next time.